Disclaimer: this content may dramatize real events and include speculation. Viewer discretion is advised as details may not be fully verified. In early 2016, Janelle got a special invite to a private dinner for artists, hosted by someone close to Diddy during Grammy weekend. The invite was handwritten. No guest allowed. The instructions were few but very clear. Arrive at midnight. Wear white silk. No phones. Let the music guide you. No address was given, only GPS coordinates that led to a hidden Malibu property. She showed up wearing a white silk jumpsuit with a tuxedo-style collar and black gloves. She thought it was just a themed event, a stylish idea.
But at the gate, security took her phone and gave her a white candle. Her driver left, and the gates locked behind her. Exhibit 113B, found during a May 2025 raid, is a signed non-disclosure agreement from Janelle, issued by a company called Global Shadow Events LLC. Clause 83 says following the ceremony rules means you agree to be watched. You can't leave until the final rhythm happens. That phrase, final rhythm, shows up in at least 4 other sealed agreements now connected to what the FBI calls the Ritual Series. Janelle was guided through a hallway lit only by dim floor lights. She passed others dressed like her, mostly women, some she recognized, but no one spoke. They sat in a circle, 2 rows deep, around a small white table with a ticking metronome in the middle.
Then the lights went out, the music stopped, and a voice behind her whispered, "Tonight's submission is a celebration." In her sealed statement that came with the NDA, Janelle said the next 20 minutes felt like time didn't exist, completely silent and ritual-like. I thought I was still awake, but the quiet made me feel like I wasn't allowed to be. She tried to stand, but a man in a white suit gently put his hand on her shoulder and said, "You can't leave until the final rhythm." At the end of the NDA, there's a note written in different ink. It says, "Note, G did not take part, only observed, keep warm." The phrase "keep warm" was seen in a past file about someone called DOA Cat. It means, let her go, but keep watching her. Janelle never talked about that night. She never posted anything online, never went back to that house.
But in 2025, when the FBI searched Diddy's Malibu home, they found her name on a guest list. Next to it, Circle 2, passive, robed, not marked. And remember, every deleted post, fake story, and PR cover-up takes hours to trace. If you want to support this channel and keep these truths coming, hit the join button and become a member. We're not stopping. 2 weeks after Janelle Monáe's NDA was accepted as Exhibit 113A, federal agents found new digital evidence. It was Exhibit 113C, a hard drive taken from a locked drawer inside Diddy's private recording studio in Malibu. The drive had raw audio files. Most were unnamed, just bits of vocals and background sounds. But one folder was titled Rhythm Sessions. Inside were 6 audio tracks. One stood out. Track 3, named Final Rhythm JM Pass. Metadata confirmed it was created on February 16, 2016, just 2 days after Janelle's invite-only ceremony. When you first hear it, it's a simple loop, slow tempo, almost trance-like.
But audio experts found hidden frequencies in it. At exactly 1 minute and 12 seconds, there's a faint voice whispering under the music. When isolated, the voice says, "She didn't dance, she just listened. She wasn't supposed to listen." An audio engineer who used to work for Comaze Global testified anonymously in court. His statement, Exhibit 113D, said that track was never meant to be released. It was a log, a sound memory of the night. She was supposed to go along with it, he said, but she saw too much. She wore the robe. That's how they knew she was ready. But she never got up when the lights changed. Court records say tracks like Final Rhythm were made after each high-clearance event. They weren't music, they were records. That same week, Janelle's longtime assistant got a letter. No return address, no stamp, delivered by hand. Inside was a typed note, no name. It read, "Don't pretend you don't remember the sound."
Below it, there was one black and white photo. It was low quality and taken from above. It showed a circle of guests in white. The table with the metronome was there, and one face barely visible at the edge. Janelle. Her head was turned. She wasn't looking at the table. This photo became Exhibit 113E. Experts confirmed the timestamp, 11:58 p.m., February 14th, 2016, 2 minutes before the lights went out. Dozens of people are seated, hands folded, facing forward. Only Janelle isn't facing the metronome. On the back of the photo, a number was written in ink. 2, passive, robed, not marked. Same words used in the guest list note. Same words used in the White Room protocol. The courtroom was silent as the audio from J.N. Pass was played again. One juror looked visibly shaken, because the last whispered line wasn't distorted. It was clear, male, and sharp. Don't let her forget. The next morning, court tension remained high.
Prosecutors introduced Exhibit 113F, a sworn statement from a former stylist who worked only on private clothing requests between 2015 and 2018. Her job wasn't red carpet outfits. It was for ceremony prep. She said every guest was given a robe, custom fit, color-coded. But not all robes were the same. Most were plain white and looked the same. But some had secret marks, black thread stitched behind the collar or hidden in the hem. Hard to see unless you knew what to look for. Each mark meant something. Janelle's label was Observer, not cleared for circle. The stylist clearly remembered when Janelle arrived. She was already wearing white silk, she said. We gave her a robe just before the lights went out. Someone nearby whispered, passive, not marked. And the reply came fast. No, stitch her! She's too aware! That command didn't come from a planner. It came from the back staircase. Someone with power. She never saw his face, but everyone followed his words.
Next, prosecutors revealed Exhibit 113G, a leaked estate memo found on a USB labeled Guest Flow Logs. One line said, JM seated, passive robed, wins black collar. No touch, no fear, no exit talk. The memo ended with one last instruction. Keep her eyes forward. If not, distract. But she didn't look forward. The stylist said Janelle broke formation more than once. She wasn't loud, didn't speak. She just kept watching. That night, a second staff member, whose identity is hidden for safety, leaked a chilling sentence overheard after the event. It was spoken by a lead planner. She kept her eyes open the whole time. That's the problem. The message was clear. Janelle didn't resist. She didn't escape. She simply saw too much. And even worse, she remembered. Then, Exhibit 113H was introduced. It was an internal guest review log kept by ComMez Global, listing notes from each ceremony night.
Janelle's final note read, too quiet, too alert, keep warm, disallow re-entry. This wasn't punishment. It was part of their system. She wasn't marked for harm. She was marked to be kept out of future events. But after the 2025 raid, someone else came forward, an anonymous guest. They had sat just one row behind Janelle. They said they saw her reach into her robe just before the lights went out. She tapped her chest twice, like a signal, then folded her hands and stared directly at the metronome, like she already knew when it would stop. 10 days after those guest flow logs were brought into court, something unexpected was found. Investigators discovered a partly burned document behind one of Diddy's other properties. A forensic waste expert found it, wrapped in foil under a half-melted backup drive. It wasn't fully destroyed, just enough of it survived to be important. It was marked as Exhibit 113I, a circle assignment list from February 2016.
Names were blacked out, but initials, roles, and comments were still there. One line stood out. Line 12, JM, passive watcher, do not reinstate. The phrase do not reinstate had only been seen once before, in a 2019 White Room memo about a missing choreographer. Prosecutors explained what it meant. The person saw too much. They can't be allowed back. Keep them silent by controlling their status. In other words, don't invite them again. Don't provoke them. Don't give them a reason to speak. And for Janelle, that plan worked. For almost 10 years, she stayed silent. Until the diary leaks, until the hard drive surfaced, until the FBI found the sealed NDA in the Malibu raid. But then something else reappeared, outside of court. A podcast from 2020 popped up online again. Not a popular one, just a low-profile interview with an unnamed musician. Their voice was filtered, identity hidden. While talking about creepy nights in Hollywood, they said,
"There was a woman, I won't say who, but she left the circle one night. Not early, just disconnected. No robe, no tears. She walked past us like we were insects, like she pitied us for staying. They didn't mention a name, but they described her clothes. White silk, black gloves, exactly what Janelle wore that night. Then came the envelope. It was hand-delivered to Janelle's assistant's office. No stamp, no return address. Just a sealed black envelope, the same kind used for VIP invites from Combies Global. Inside, no letter, no threat, just one thing. A single black thread, still looped at the end. The kind used in collar stitching. No message, no reason, just one last reminder. It became Exhibit 113J. Forensic tests confirmed the thread's material matched a discontinued robe design. Used only once, on February 14th, 2016. It matched the stitching in Janelle's robe. The one she wore that night. The one she sat in, eyes open.
And left quietly. They didn't need her to scream. They just hoped she'd forget. But she didn't. The prosecution returned to court with one final living witness from the February 2016 ceremony. She was a former event planner for Combies Global. Her identity was hidden by court order, but her role was confirmed through IRS documents, company emails, and her name on the Circle assignment list. Her voice shook as she spoke, but her words were clear. She said, Janelle Monáe wasn't a threat. She was a mirror. That's what scared them. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She just watched. And they realized she understood more than anyone expected. She explained that most guests, especially new ones, entered the circle in one of two ways. Some submitted. They followed every signal without question. Others were suspicious. They hesitated, doubted, or asked too many things. But Janelle didn't do either. She accepted everything, not because she believed in it, but because she was obser.
She wasn't fooled by the show. She sat through it, collecting every detail. The witness described a quiet moment at 12:06 a.m. The lights had just gone dark. One of the ceremony workers stood behind Janelle and whispered, "Ready?" Janelle didn't turn around. She didn't react. She simply replied, "I don't move unless I mean it." That line was never officially recorded, but the witness remembered it clearly because of what happened right after. A planner turned to her and mouthed, "Disengage her, she's not going under." That was code. It meant, don't push her, let her leave, she's too aware. Later that month, during regular cleanup of the private studio, something strange was found. Behind a sealed sound panel in the vocal booth, a white robe was hidden. It was neatly folded, untouched, and clean. Inside the collar, one single black stitch, tied tight. Same stitching as the one in Janelle's robe. This was marked as Exhibit 113K.
DNA tests confirmed it had traces matching clothes Janelle had worn before in public. She wore the robe, but didn't take it with her. She left it behind, quietly folded, like a silent message, a refusal. But that wasn't the end of it, because the next piece of evidence didn't come from Janelle. It came from someone else, someone who had watched her. Exhibit 113L, a handwritten letter submitted to the court without a name, no return info, no digital trail. It started with this: "I didn't know what I was seeing until I saw her face." Everyone else waited for the next cue. She was the only one listening for the silence. She wasn't scared. She was scanning. They were acting powerful. She was watching how they used control. The letter ended with 7 words underlined. That's why they didn't let her back. In the final week of testimony, prosecutors brought in Exhibit 113M.
It was a voicemail file pulled from the archive of a Comms Global staff member who worked in the A&R department. This message had been untouched for more than 7 years, until now. The file was dated February 15th, 2016, at 8:42 a.m., just hours after the ceremony. It had been sent to a general extension, then filed away. No one responded. But the voice in the message was clear. It was an assistant, unidentified and clearly shaken. "Hey, just checking in." She left around 5, alone. Didn't say much, didn't cry. She just logged it. Like she was recording everything in her head. Every sound, every face. I don't know if she'll ever talk. But if she does, she won't need notes. Click. End of message. That file was never erased. It sat in a digital storage system on a comms-run server. Forgotten until the 2025 FBI subpoena demanded all saved voicemails be decrypted and reviewed.
That one stood out immediately, because Janelle had never mentioned that night, not once, until now. Next came Exhibit 113N. It was a security log from the estate's private watch circle room. This wasn't a room for guests. It was where event planners monitored things like heart rate, movement, and behavior. Janelle was listed, not by name, but by code, Observer 14. Notes read, "Active mind, minimal risk, no dosage administered." That final line shocked the courtroom. No dosage. Most guests were given small amounts of sedatives or drugs, disguised as essential oils or flavored water. But not Janelle. Why? Because she didn't need calming. She didn't panic. She didn't resist. She didn't act. She simply watched. Then came Exhibit 113O. It was a handwritten note taken from the event planner's notebook. Just a few scribbles made during the ceremony. Observer 14 asked, "Can I leave?" And below that, one final quote, "I'll leave. You don't have to open the door."
She didn't wait for permission. She didn't demand anything. She just stood up and walked out. Alone. Quietly. And they let her. Because they didn't know how else to handle her. She wasn't a guest. She wasn't a threat. She was a witness. One who left before they could tell her what she wasn't allowed to remember. As the trial neared its final stage, the prosecutors brought attention to something that hadn't been fully explored. Janelle's own words. Not words from court, not from any official testimony, but from a quiet podcast interview in 2018, nearly forgotten. It was on a lifestyle show that rarely talked about music. During the chat, the host asked her an odd question. "You always seem calm, even during chaos. Have you ever been in a situation you wanted to escape?" Janelle paused. She smiled, but not fully. Then she said, "Not all rooms are made to escape from. Some are built to see if you'll sit still."
The host moved on. But now, that one line has been added to the court record as Exhibit 113P, seen as her quiet confirmation of what really happened. The prosecution then shared more from another former facilitator. Her name was hidden from public records, but her clearance level was proven by internal estate files. She had access to move between every level of the ceremony. She described Janelle with one powerful sentence: She was too present, too intact. What did that mean? Most guests entered the room shaky, distracted, or hollow. But Janelle was steady. She didn't lean in, she didn't freeze, she didn't follow. And when the lights went down, she didn't search for a signal. She looked for the source. Then Exhibit 113Q was shown. It was the final note on Janelle's event file, stamped in bold red text. File closed, witness warm, circle complete. These three phrases appear often in Comms Global's internal documents related to VIP guests.
Each one has its own meaning. File closed means no more follow-up. Witness warm means the person isn't speaking, yet. Circle complete means they were there long enough to see what happened, but not long enough to absorb it fully. In simple terms, Janelle got out, but not before she saw everything. So they didn't silence her. They just waited, hoping the silence would do the job. And it nearly did. Until 2025. Until her NDA leaked. Until the photos were found. Until the track named Final Rhythm, JM Pass, showed that it wasn't a song. It was a record. A record of someone who walked through the ritual untouched, but fully aware. And when Janelle finally spoke through the case files, she didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She simply said, "I saw what it was, and I left." In the final days of court, a sealed archive from Combes Global's private storage was unsealed. Inside were preserved ritual items, robes, guest tokens, unused name cards.
Most of it didn't matter. But one item stood out. It hadn't been burned. It hadn't been thrown away. It was vacuum sealed, labeled, and stored in a climate-controlled case. The tag read, "Witness frozen, JM, do not assign." It was Janelle Monáe's robe. The same one she wore in the circle. The same one she folded neatly and hid behind the vocal booth panel. They didn't keep it as clothing. They kept it as evidence. And inside the robe, pressed between the layers, was something else. A note, handwritten, folded twice, never sent, never addressed. But the ink was still clear. It said, "If this ever sees light, don't tell them I was brave. I wasn't. I sat still, I listened, and I left. I wasn't the story. I was the receipt." That note became Exhibit 113R. The courtroom sat in silence as it was read. No one moved, because in that moment, everyone understood. Janelle Monáe didn't run from that house. She wasn't silenced.
She simply saw something no one expected her to remember. And instead of screaming, she waited for the world to finally see what she saw. The last audio file entered as evidence was Exhibit 113S. It wasn't supposed to be recorded. It came from a body mic left on by mistake, worn by a planner after the event ended. Near the end of the audio, one voice says, "She'll remember, but she won't be believed." Another voice replies, "Doesn't matter. She didn't film it." Click, end of file. But they were wrong, because she did leave a record. Not digital, not public, but folded in silence and hidden in a robe they thought no one would ever find. I wasn't the story. I was the receipt.